Harry telling friends he wants to move back to the UK.
The Daily Mail reporting over the weekend that Harry and Meghan's Hollywood dream the bubble has burst.
You know, Harry and Meghan both feel that America is kind of cooling on them and that it's difficult, and they want to be liked in the UK now.
They called it freedom, but now it looks like failure. Prince Harry is reportedly on bended knee, telling friends he wants back into the UK life he once abandoned. But as the veil lifts on his Hollywood nightmare, one question remains. Does Harry miss his family, or does he miss the royal spotlight he left behind? Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this reported U-turn may be their most desperate move yet.
What do people around them think that summer 2027 looks like?
The people around them think summer 2027 is all four of them in the UK.
You're the reason for all of your problems. And so now we're all talking about it. We know what's going to happen. I don't know how Harry is going to live part-time in the UK. It's a mess. It's a mess.
Back in early 2020, Harry and Meghan walked away from royal life and called it Megxit. They didn't just leave quietly. They said Britain was the problem. They said the press was cruel, the family was cold, and staying meant losing themselves. So they packed up and moved to California, and they made sure everyone knew this was the answer. Freedom, a fresh start, a life on their own terms. And for a while, it looked like it was working. Netflix signed them for a deal worth around $100 million. Spotify followed with a multi-year podcast contract worth up to $25 million. Publishers lined up too, and Harry's memoir became one of the fastest-selling books in history.
But what is now absolutely clear is that Prince Harry's team are attempting to, how do you put it, reverse Megxit.
This wasn't a quiet retreat from royal duty. This was supposed to be the birth of a media empire, built without a crown, without palace rules, and without anyone telling them what they could or couldn't say. Every part of the plan pointed one direction, out of Britain into Hollywood, forever. So here's the question worth sitting with. If California really was everything they wanted, if this was the freedom they said they were chasing, why would Harry now be telling people close to him that he wants a life back in the UK? Something doesn't add up. And the answer starts with what happened after the ink dried on all those contracts. Because something changed.
Communications professional on Team Sussex who said to me, Harry's never coming back to the UK. Loves his life in California. He's here forever. And that has completely changed.
America isn't buying their story anymore. And that's what changed. The excitement that followed them out of Britain didn't last. Spotify ended the podcast deal in 2023 after just one season. Meghan's archetypes performed well while it lasted, but one series in 3 years wasn't what the contract was built for. And the split came with a public jab from a Spotify executive who called the arrangement a bad bet. Netflix told a similar story. The $100 million deal that once felt like the birth of a media empire produced a single documentary that pulled huge numbers, then a cooking show that pulled a fraction of that audience. The gap between those two projects wasn't small. It was the kind of drop that makes executives start asking questions instead of writing checks.
You look at how they wanted to leave the UK because of racism, because of not being protected. Oh, let's go.
Meghan's other ventures followed the same pattern. A lifestyle brand here, a children's book there, one-off projects that never turned into the long-term business empire they promised when they first left. The celebrity circle that surrounded them in year one thinned out by year 3. Interview requests slowed, magazine covers became rarer, the version of Hollywood that once treated them like the biggest new signing in the building started treating them like any other couple with a fading deal.
Oh, let's go over now to America and get all these opportunities off of our royal titles. And then now America is not warming to them.
Here's the harder truth underneath all of it. Their biggest asset walking into Hollywood was never acting talent or writing talent or producing skill. It was proximity to a crown. Executives didn't sign Harry and Meghan because they were gifted storytellers. They signed them because a real prince and a real duchess came with real royal secrets. And once those secrets were spent across one memoir, one Oprah interview, and one documentary, there wasn't much left to sell. The inside insiders they left behind knew this from day one.
Hey, let's leave America. People don't like it. Let's go down back to the UK. Well, newsflash, the people in the United Kingdom still don't like you.
Royal access has a shelf life once it stops feeling new. But once that faded, another problem became impossible to ignore. That other problem was Harry himself. Just 18 months ago, people close to the Sussex operation were saying the opposite of what they're saying now. Back then, the message was clear. Harry loved California. He had no interest in coming back to Britain to live. This was home now, permanently, and everyone should stop asking. That was the line, repeated with confidence whenever a reporter brought it up. Now, the story has flipped completely. Insiders say Harry wants a part-time life in the UK. Not a visit here and there, but something regular, something built into his routine.
I genuinely believe all of this is driven by money. That is the only reason he wants to come back.
He reportedly wants to spend more time in Europe again. He wants to reconnect with old charities he used to run. He wants his children to grow up understanding the country he came from, not just hearing about it secondhand. And he wants the whole family standing together in Birmingham for the Invictus Games in 2027 on British soil in front of British cameras. Think about how big that shift actually is. This isn't a small adjustment in tone. This is a complete reversal of a story his own team spent years insisting was true. 1 year, the answer was never. Now, the answer is soon. People who study these things for a living don't see gradual change like this happen by accident. Something has to force it. And that's what makes this moment different from every other rumor about Harry over the past few years. This isn't tabloid speculation about a possible visit. This is a reported change in his entire long-term plan, coming from people who once swore the opposite was true. If Harry really meant it back then, when he said California was forever, then this reversal needs an explanation. Saying he simply changed his mind isn't good enough. People don't quietly abandon a story they were emphatic about unless something underneath it gave way first. But people immediately asked one question. Why now? That's the question everyone kept coming back to, not whether Harry wanted a different life. People change their minds all the time. The real question was timing. Why this year? Why this moment? And not 2 years ago or 5 years from now? A few explanations get floated, and none of them are proven. One is simple. Hollywood slowed down, and when the checks get smaller, priorities tend to shift with them. Another points to public image. Popularity numbers on both sides of the Atlantic have reportedly dropped, and a couple who built their brand on being loved doesn't do well when the love starts fading in 2 countries instead of 1. Then there's family. Sources have pointed to King Charles's health as part of the pull, the kind of thing that makes anyone reconsider distance from a parent. Others say it's simpler than that. Harry misses the parts of his old life that never had a Hollywood replacement, the military connections, the charities that gave him a real purpose instead of a content calendar, the identity that came from being useful to something bigger than himself, not just visible. See, that's the piece that's easy to miss in all of this. It's not just about missing people, it's about missing a role. California gave Harry attention. It's not clear it ever gave him purpose. So maybe this isn't really about family at all. Maybe it's about relevance, and family is simply the explanation that sounds better in public. Either way, one thing keeps surfacing whenever people try to make sense of the timing. But that's where the security fight suddenly starts making sense. The security fight was never really about safety. At least that's what a growing number of commentators are now arguing. Harry has spent years pushing for taxpayer-funded protection in the UK, the kind of coverage he lost when he stepped back from royal duties. On the surface, it sounds simple. He wants his family safe when they visit. But look closer, and critics say the real value of that protection goes far beyond a few days in Britain. If Harry gets the level of coverage he's reportedly asking for, it wouldn't just cover him during scheduled visits, it would follow him wherever he travels, which means easier, more frequent trips to the UK without the cost and hassle of arranging private security every single time. It would also make a European base, like the reported home in Portugal, far more practical as a regular stop instead of an occasional getaway. Then there's the money. Private security for a family like this reportedly costs several $millions a year. If the government picks up that bill, instead, it frees up a significant amount of cash right at the exact moment Hollywood income is reportedly drying up. None of this is confirmed, but But the pattern is hard to ignore. A push for free security lines up almost perfectly with a push for more time in Britain and a shrinking income from America. Two problems, one potential solution. But even if Harry wins that fight, another obstacle is much bigger. That bigger obstacle isn't the government, it's the public, because no security deal fixes what actually happened between Harry and the country he wants back into. This is the part people tend to skip past, but it's the part that matters most. In 2021, Harry and Meghan sat down with Oprah Winfrey and made accusations of racism inside the royal family, comments that shook the monarchy in a way few interviews ever had.
They didn't want him to be a prince or a princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol, and that he wasn't going to receive security.
What?
Then came the Netflix documentary, pulling back the curtain on private conversations and private pain for a global audience. Then came Spare, Harry's memoir, which went further than either of those, detailing arguments, insults, and moments meant to stay behind closed doors. Reports at the time described a queen in her final years dealing with all of this while her health was failing. Prince Philip, by most accounts, spent some of his last months aware of the growing rift, and whatever existed between Harry and William before all of this started has arguably never recovered. Commentators close to the family have suggested there's little real path back to the closeness the brothers once had. So here's the payoff of everything building up to this point. Harry may genuinely want to come back. The reported charm offensive, the softer tone, the talk of family and children and roots, all of it might be sincere, but wanting back and being welcomed back are two very different things. And right now, Britain doesn't look like a country waiting with open arms. But that's not where this ends. There's a bigger problem coming. That bigger problem has a name, and it's Meghan. While Harry is reportedly focused on rebuilding ties in Britain, Meghan is reportedly focused on the opposite, protecting and growing her life and her brand in California. Their public appearances have started to separate too. Harry shows up at events tied to charity, military causes, or family, often without Meghan by his side. Meghan, meanwhile, has kept a lower profile, working on her own lifestyle projects, largely away from British press and British soil. People close to the couple have described growing distance between them. Not necessarily a crisis, but a quiet drifting in different directions, each one chasing a different version of what comes next. If that reporting holds up, it raises an uncomfortable question. Can Harry actually rebuild a relationship with Britain if the person standing beside him doesn't want the same thing? A joint comeback needs two people rowing in the same direction. Separate goals make that much harder to pull off convincingly, no matter how good the intentions are on either side. Still, even with all of that uncertainty hanging over the marriage, something else seems to be moving forward regardless. There may already be a plan taking shape. Portugal, that's the plan. Or at least that's what a growing number of reports suggest. Harry and Meghan's home there has reportedly stopped being just a holiday spot and started looking like something more permanent. A base in Europe solves a few problems at once. It's close enough for quick flights into the UK, far enough to still feel private, and it doesn't force either of them to give up their life in California. Think of it as a middle ground. They don't have to choose between two countries overnight. Instead, they can slowly spend more time in Portugal, make more frequent trips across to Britain, and let the public get used to seeing them in Europe again before anything bigger gets decided. If Montecito ever starts to feel too isolated, or their American income keeps shrinking, Portugal gives them an easy explanation that has nothing to do with failure. They can simply say they're bringing the children closer to Harry's roots. It's a smart move on paper. It buys time. It keeps options open on both sides of the Atlantic without committing to either one fully. But a stepping stone only gets you halfway across the river. Portugal might make the travel easier. It might make the optics softer. What it can't do is fix the one thing that decides whether any of this actually works. And that problem sits inside the palace, not inside a passport. But even that may not solve the biggest issue. That biggest issue sits with the palace. Reports suggest King Charles may be open to some kind of private reconciliation, and a father wanting to see his son isn't hard to believe. But William is described very differently. Multiple sources close to the family suggest he holds a far harder line, with little appetite for anything beyond the basics. That gap between father and brother matters, because Charles won't be king forever, and whatever door he opens now could close again the moment William takes over. There's history here, too. The late Queen was famously clear on this exact question years ago. She said Harry and Meghan couldn't be half in and half out, taking royal status and public money while skipping the duties that come with it. That line hasn't gone away just because she has. If anything, it's the same line the public keeps drawing today. Trust is the real currency here, and it's not one that private meetings can rebuild on their own. The palace has spent years protecting its reputation while absorbing very public criticism from Harry and Meghan. Letting them back in, even partially, risks reopening all of that. And with Invictus 2027 reportedly being treated as the target date for a full family reunion on British soil, every move between now and then will be read as a signal, whether it's meant that way or not. So, the real question isn't whether Harry can return personally, and that's the difference many people overlook. Harry can return as a person. He can't return as an institution. California promised freedom, and for a while, it delivered exactly that. Big deals, a new life, a story they controlled from start to finish. But Hollywood cooled faster than anyone expected, and what's left behind is a couple reportedly looking back toward the country they once said they had to escape. Harry can rebuild parts of his old life. Family visits, charity work, a quieter, part-time presence in Britain. What he can't simply rebuild is trust, and trust doesn't come back just because someone says the right words at the right time. If this really is the start of his journey back, the hardest part was never going to be convincing his father. It's convincing the British public, and headlines alone won't do that. So, here's what I want to know. If the king lets them back in for Invictus, will you be watching, or have you officially moved on? Drop a moved on or a welcome back in the comments below. This has been Jane Expose, and I'll be right here waiting for the next story.